We are going to make up a oatmeal bake today. If you're somebody who does not like to eat oatmeal, or you're looking for a healthy type of a snack bar to bring with you to work in the morning, oatmeal bakes are such an easy recipe. And if you're someone who doesn't want to, nuke up a pack of oatmeal and eat it for breakfast in the morning, you like the texture, this is a really great way to add some good fiber into your morning routine. And there's lots of different versions of this. Typically, my favorite one is to do blueberries. I don't have any blueberries right now, so we're gonna do a banana oatmeal bake. So for your wet ingredients, we are going to use 2 eggs, a cup of almond milk instead of regular milk, okay? I've got 3 bananas that I'm gonna mash up. And that is gonna be, and we're gonna do a tablespoon of vanilla. So I'm gonna get to work mixing together, just whisking it up with a fork, the wet ingredients. We're gonna grease a pan. I typically would use a larger one than this, but this is all I have right now. And you can either use coconut oil, dip a paper towel in that, and grease it, or I'm just gonna use, I've got some MTC oil, which is a form of coconut oil, and I'm going to grease my pan with that. For your dry ingredients, we're gonna use 3 cups of oats. You can do large flake or small quick oats, and right now I just have the packets in my cupboard because I can't go out and get groceries. So I'm going to break those down for dry ingredients. We are going to make a topping very similar to the gooey center of a cinnamon bun using cinnamon and an artificial sweetener called xylitol, which is mostly, you'll find that in your sugar-free chewing gum. It's very good for your teeth. It's not like Splenda. It's not something that you need to be worried about. It's not aspartame. And then for a little bit of sweetness, I'm going to use pure stevia. Stevia or Splenda is fine to use in moderation. People are concerned about ingesting too much aspartame, and if you do, it is not very good for your gut health. So, everything in moderation. If you're somebody who is suffering from chronic fatigue syndrome or fibromyalgia or IBS, any too much aspartame in the diet will reduce your production of serotonin in your intestinal system, so it can affect your mood. But again, if you're not consuming tons of it every day, if you're switching from, say, sugar in your coffee to a little bit of Splenda, tablespoon, a couple of teaspoons a day, it's really not that big of a deal. Taking in the refined sugar is going to be worse for your health. So let's get baking. So I'm going to start greasing my pan first. I'm going to grab a paper towel. You can also get coconut oil in a spray that looks just like Pam, so you can stay away from that stuff. All right, so I'm going to start mashing up my bananas. So I'm going to actually whisk up the almond milk with the eggs before I throw in my mashed bananas. And I might as well go ahead and throw in my tablespoon of vanilla. I'm really bad at not measuring anything. I kind of just feel it out. Most of the time when I'm doing recipes, I kind of just throw stuff together, and I'm not really one of those, measuring. And mashed bananas next. So 3 cups of those. I'm actually making this up this morning to leave with my grandmother. And if you are someone who is gluten-free, They do sell gluten-free oats at the Bulk Barn if you're living in the Brockville area, or you can just purchase gluten-free oats anywhere you want to. And then you've got a sugar-free, gluten-free, awesome breakfast recipe. Okay, next we are going to throw in everything else together. But first, we're going to mix up our topping. So I'm just going to put that aside for a second. Xylitol you can find at the Bulk Barn as well. I have some other recipes that I use this in a lot. I do have a healthy cinnamon bun recipe. And let's do just about maybe 3 tablespoons. I have a healthy cinnamon bun recipe, flour-free, gluten-free, and a vanilla loaf recipe that I do this with as well. Cinnamon, I love, love, love lots of cinnamon, but I'm a little bit low on it. I couldn't go do grocery shopping today before making up this video because everything is closed. But I would say about 2 to 3 tablespoons, probably closer to 3 tablespoons of cinnamon too. I've got a little bit of extra mixture from a recipe I did the other day that I'm just going to throw in there. And we'll just mix that up. So this is going to be our topping after we put everything together. So ideally the xylitol is going to kind of melt as it cooks in with the cinnamon, and it's going to make it nice and gooey. That is optional. You don't have to do that if you don't want to. All right, next, let's put this plate aside. We're going to do our 3 cups of oats. Whoops. I'm really, really fantastic at cooking and making tons of messes at the same time. And most of the time when I cook, I end up with pretty much everything all over the floor. Apparently that's something me and my grandmother share. We're really good cooks, but the kitchen is a huge mess afterwards. I find the recipe works out a little bit better with your larger flake oats. And I've actually bought a Super Grains oatmeal, so there's some flaxseed in here as well. All right, honey. Don't buy store-bought honey, guys. This comes from a friend of mine, Jen Lavis, and she has her own products. Her business is called the Sassy Beekeeper, and she has her own, makes her own honey. She's got her own bees. So that's what I'm using right now. She gifted me with this stuff. But go local for honey. The stuff that you get in the store is not real. It's like artificial. So I'm just throwing in 2 teaspoons of honey in there for that. If any of you guys have been working out with me, you might have met her because she's been in most of my classes. And I'll post that information to hook you guys up with her if you're interested. We're going to support local businesses as much as we can right now. Okay, baking powder. We're going to put in 2 teaspoons. Roughly. And last but not least, our Splenda. So I'm going to throw in a cup. And if you do this and you find it's too overpowering, it's too sweet, next time you make it, you can decide how much you want to put in. And we're just going to mix all of that up. So our oven's going to be preset at 325, and this is going to bake for 30-35 minutes. And the consistency is pretty wet to me right now, so I'm just going to throw in a little bit more oatmeal. I'm going to do about another half of a cup, because I don't think there's quite a full half a cup in these little packets, so I didn't measure it. All right, that's looking a little bit better. All right, we're going to transfer this to the pan. My squares are going to come out a little bit thicker just because of the size of it, so I might have to bake it a little bit longer today. And then we're going to do the topping. And I'm just going to even that out a little bit. Okay, doesn't that look awesome? All right, I'm going to transfer that into the oven. So there it is out of the oven. I've just kind of poked it with a fork to see if it's cooked in the center, and it is. I am going to let it stand and cool off. I baked mine at 325 for 30 minutes. So best judge for yourself. If it's a little bit, seems like it might be a little bit moist still in the center, just pull it out anyway so it doesn't get too dry. And I'm just going to let it sit for a good 20-30 minutes, just as it is before I serve it. All right, and there is our banana cinnamon oat bar. Mine's pretty thick. Yours will be a little bit thinner if you use a bigger pan. And this recipe can be divided into 6 servings for your snack or your breakfast. So anyway, please make it. Enjoy.